So John Cena is about to retire. He has retired, or he's been retired for a good old while. It depends when you watch this video. But the truth is, the GOAT, or one of the GOATs of professional wrestling, has now hung up his boots. And given how adamant John Cena has been about never breaking his retirement, I don't think he is going to be like other wrestlers. And even if one day you go up to his house and say, here's $72 billion, he's going to be like, I'm sorry, Chief, I promised the fans I'd never come back, and I got to stick to it. Therefore, what we should do as a fan base is go through some of his most important and some of his most exciting matches and remind ourselves that while some fans did like to chant, you can't wrestle, actually, when it did come down to it, John Cena was pretty flipping good. So here's 20 John Cena matches you should check out today. Number 20 versus RVD at ECW One Night Stand 2006. So as we know, John Cena was essentially Mr. PG. After WWE had decided, oh hi, we should try and make our content more family friendly, John Cena was the top star, so any kind of edge, not Adam Copeland, he went to AEW, that could have been on television, on Raw or SmackDown was taken away. And John was told, listen, if you could appeal to kids, we'd really appreciate it. And that was not quite the same at ECW One Night Stand 2006 because, of course, this was a throwback to the original Extreme Championship Wrestling, even if it was under a WWE banner. And given that it was in the Hammerstein Ballroom, a bunch of ECW fans did turn up, and they didn't like John Cena at all. In fact, they looked at the guy and said, you know what, we think you're everything wrong with pro wrestling. Cena wasn't an idiot either. He was so damn prepared. Therefore, when he walked in and did his entrance, he had his head down. He just held his WWE title aloft. And yes, this is the night when he threw his t-shirt into the crowd and they threw it back as RVD Rob Van Dam, who was the challenger, was also having the time of his life. This match is actually pretty good anyway, but with the atmosphere in that venue and just how mad everybody is, I tell you, man, it's totally fantastic. And it basically gave birth to a meme. What's the famous sign that isn't the crowd? If John Cena wins, we write. Actually, he didn't win at all. That's what makes it even better too, because of course Edge gets involved, allowing RVD to become the WWE champion. So not only had we finally seen John Cena as a heel, basically, which is what so many people wanted, but flipping Rob Van Dam was the WWE champion. It's one of those moments in time that you owe it to yourself to watch, because it's flubbing brilliant. Number 19 versus Kevin Owens at the Elimination Chamber 2015. So actually you could probably make a case for 2015 being John Cena's best year ever, mostly given what he did in that US title open challenge. Not only did he have just great matches against everybody like Pac or Neville or Sami Zayn or a bunch of other folk too, he actually took the championship and finally made it mean something, and believe you me, when you go through the history of WWE and that their belt, it is hit and miss. It was also the same time WWE decided to take Kevin Owens from NXT and put him on the main roster, and every single thing we did here was basically perfect, because while everybody kind of hoped that KO would get the victory over John Cena at the pay-per-view, nobody believed it down in their tum-tum. So when Kevin Owens did it with basically a single pop-up powerbomb and no shenanigans and no real cheating, nobody could believe it. And again, if you were just a fan of the main roster product and you didn't watch NXT, straight away you were like, well, who is this Kevin Owens? I better keep an eye on him. And what has KO done ever since then? He's basically been a tippity top star. There was an offshoot to this, of course, as well, because NXT was bringing about the best independent talent from the world over. And actually, given that it was a WWE byproduct, the focus on in-ring competition was higher than ever. So even though John Cena once again had been told you can't wrestle, he just went and had all these great matches with all of these guys and kind of proved a lot of people wrong. And he made a start at the same time. This is one of my personal favorite matches when it comes to Cena, mostly because I love Kevin Owens too, but they both absolutely bought it. Number 18 versus Randy Orton at Bragging Rights 2009. Sometimes when John Cena and Randy Orton did clash, it wasn't necessarily at the level that some would expect. I would argue, one, we just raised the bar too high when it came to expectations, but also two, because they were such huge stars, well, they almost sort of cancelled each other out. To act like some of their fights didn't rule, though, would be totally unfair, which is exactly what did happen at Bragging Rights 2009. Like, we had been through Breaking Point and we had been through Hell in a Cell, meaning we need a stipulation here, so we essentially had an anything goes Iron Man match, and you get 5 pinfalls, you get a bunch of submissions, you get Legacy running in, which of course means you get Cody Rhodes looking at John Cena. It just ticks every single box, and it keeps you totally invested for the whole running time. They also throw each other through tables in the most ludicrous ways. You're like, oh my gosh, how the hell are they going to be okay after that? And the finish is sublime too, because John Cena makes Randy Orton tap out to the STF with 3 seconds left on the clock. And trust me, if you've never wrestled yourself, even getting that timing, even if you do have the numbers on the screen or have a referee telling you, it's so damn hard, and they nailed it perfectly. Cena stands tall at the end, and he absolutely earned it, but it really was a reminder. John Cena and Randy Orton didn't fluke their way to the top of their card. They knew what they were doing, And yeah, even this was like 16 years ago, by the time you see this video, it's absolutely worth a watch. Brilliant. Number 17 versus Kurt Angle on the 27th of June 2002 SmackDown. Now, of course, this is John Cena's debut, and as we are obsessed with origin stories these days, you should probably go and watch this one as well. But the interesting point of view is a lot of people will tell you, maybe even John Cena himself, I think he said it in interviews, is that he wasn't very good for a first appearance. I actually totally disagree. Now, yes, Kurt Angle was coming off wins from The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, so he was a massive star, so he did give John Cena a lot here, but I actually think given it was the first time that John Cena appeared on TV, well, he more than held his own. Now, of course, he is still inexperienced, and you can tell that he's got a lot to learn, but I think he brings a certain intensity, and I think some of the sequences here are actually super fun to watch, because as what will become a trademark of Cena, he just moves in such a unique way. Sounds a bit weird, but you can't take his eyes off him. Once again though, given this was his first ever debut in front of millions and thousands of people, there have been way worse attempts. And I do understand as well that WWE didn't see the worth in John Cena until he became the Doctor of Thugonomics. And maybe this is just the power of hindsight, but when you watch it now, especially with the look and the way he holds himself, and maybe it is Kurt Angle going out of his way, you can just tell that he does have something. There's only one way to figure out, and that's for you to watch it as well. But I actually think when you take all the parameters into occasion, it's pretty damn good. Number 16 versus CM Punk on the 25th of February 2013 Raw. So is this the best match that CM Punk and John Cena have ever had? I mean, obviously their Money in the Bank 2011 main event is the biggest, but in terms of bell-to-bell in-ring action that you can just watch and totally enjoy, I would put this at number 1. It's just perfect proof that their chemistry together is through the roof and that they make each other better. And they pull out a pile driver during this match. Now, trust me, back in 2013, the driver of piles was totally a banned move, but because they were such big stars, they decided to do it anyway, and it massively works. I still remember seeing this and looking around my room and going, that mother Hubbard just hit a pile driver. You also had so much story here as well because Punk's massive world title reign had just been ended by The Rock, meaning whoever was going to win here would go on to WrestleMania to face the Great One. And even though it would be John Cena to do twice in a lifetime, even though they told us the first match was once in a lifetime, some people were so desperate to CM Punk to finally get his opportunity. My gosh, did they buy it. Both guys are so damn good as well, they lean into this as well, and you can just feel the stakes of this damn thing. Once again, you can just tell they like working with each other. So if you're only used to kind of the 2025 CM Punk John Cena stuff, you owe it to yourself and go back and watch this. Because this is essentially when they made it very clear, we can do this till the cows come home, and at the very least, it is always probably going to be a solid 8.5 out of 10. As for this one though, give it a massive 1-0. Number 15 versus Umaga at the Royal Rumble 2007. When we flipped the script, because I don't think many people had high expectations for Umaga when he did debut, when we all realized, oh my gosh, Edward Fatu is such a good performer, you could even give him somewhat passe gimmicks and he's going to be able to make it work. Again, he was the Samoan bulldozer here. But it kind of felt like something you would have done in 1982. Because he totally understood all this though and knew what he was doing in the ring, and John Cena understood it too. You get to this Royal Rumble match, which is for after last man standing rules, and honestly, they must have sat down and gone, should we just kill each other? That should be the plan, right? Because they totally lay it in, and you get blood during this thing. And trust me, we've already talked about it. John Cena was mostly PG, so when he does get cut open, you're like, hot damn. At one point too, Cena uses the steel steps as a projectile as well, and just hurls it into Umaga's eye, essentially. And the finish also sums it up, because it was a last man standing match. They totally destroyed the ring to the point the ropes fall off. When John Cena flipping gets that thing, and he starts to strangle Umaga, who I suppose in the moment goes, well, if I can't breathe, I'm not going to be able to wrestle anymore, so I should probably just tap out. Once again, though, it's so damn intense, that would be the word to describe this, and it's just such a good fight. If you tell me this is your favorite ever John Cena match, I wouldn't argue with you, and it's also a wonderful reminder, because he did pass away so early, that Edward Fatu was one hell of a performer. And I honestly believe if we had just figured this out, one day he could have even been the WWE champion. Number 14 versus AJ Styles at Crown Jewel 2025. So let's get one recent one in there, and I absolutely love this match. I mean, after the Crown Jewel show, so many people were like, it was like a love letter to wrestling. And I totally agree with you, and honestly, if you enjoy feeling emotional about this stupid thing known as sports entertainment, you absolutely have to watch this match. As both knew it was their last hurrah as well, they just have all the fun, and given that AJ Styles around the same time announced that he would be retiring in 2026, John Cena came up with that wonderful intro to him when they pay homage to Kurt Angle, Baron Corbin, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, a bunch of other people I'm not thinking about right now, The Miz, Bray Wyatt. I mean, there were just so many wink, wink, nudge, nudges. Oh, you're into wrestling? Well, we're going to enjoy that with you. I do not think they could have had a more perfect match. And in terms of things we did do in 2025, at the very least, this would be in my top 5, regardless of what the company is. The Australian fans ate it up as well, which just made for an incredible atmosphere, especially because when you looked out into the audience, basically every single human being there was wearing a John Cena shirt, but this was only a couple of months before he was going to retire for good. So that just made you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. Some people criticised it as well and said, well, only John Cena and AJ Styles could have gotten away with this, but that was the entire point. They knew they were going to have leeway to kind of come up with whatever they wanted to come up with, and the fact they chose this, which was like a video game encounter, well, I actually think it was genius. And you can now look at me and say, Simon, that's way too over the top. But when I was done with this, I've told this story 1,000 times, I went on their social media and I wrote, well, I thought that was delightful. I didn't use that word because I thought it would be funny. That's how it made me feel, like having Sunday dinner with your nan. I love this match. It's a 5-star classic, and I bet it's one I watch when I'm 65 that will make me feel exactly the same way as it did on that night. Number 13 versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 36. So of course, WrestleMania 36 is absolutely horrendous to watch these days because it was the pandemic WrestleMania, and anything that wasn't a cinematic match, it kind of makes you want to stab yourself in the face. Given that we did have the Boneyard match on night 1, though, you knew that somebody was going to do something crazy on night 2. And of course, it was going to be The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and John Cena, as they come up with an alternate reality of what would happen if John Cena didn't have the adulation of the fans, which was also quite meta because, of course, when the pandemic went down, we didn't have any fans. There's no point in me trying to explain this to you either because you do have to go and watch it, but you see John Cena as a heel, you see John Cena as the NWO, you see John Cena burying people in inverted commas, and there's a very angry puppet version of Vince McMahon. But everybody has said this came from the crazy creative mind of Bray Wyatt. And once again, it just kind of shows you what you can do in pro wrestling, and it's awesome that John Cena was involved in this because until we got to 2025, nobody thought we were ever going to see him as a bad guy. So putting him in situations where you could kind of imagine it, I'm going to be that guy, call me a loser in the comments. In many ways, it's a work of art. I suppose you could say that Bray Wyatt wins as well, but nothing in this whole thing is that simple. But I just like the fact that it is so damn creative and then it feels like nothing else you're ever going to watch. And imagine I told you before all this, or you're going to see John Cena in an NWO top at WrestleMania, you never would have believed me. And by this point too, of course, John Cena had been around for so many years, he needed something fresh like bread. This was exactly the ticket. I think Bray probably knew that, and of course Wyatt's another guy that very tragically passed away too soon. So if you've never seen this, even if you don't like it after the fact, it is well worth your time, and you wouldn't have been able to do it without John Cena and the crazy fandom he did have. It's one of a kind. Number 12 versus Edge, Unforgiven 2006. So looking back at 2006, we can realize one thing. Anytime John Cena and Edge stepped in a ring, not only was John Cena cemented as the top guy of the company, but Edge used this as a platform to also say, by the way, I'm going to be a massive star. And basically everything they did was not only great for back then, but it cemented their feud as an all-timer. Now, of course, it started when Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase when they kind of traded the title around. And that is when the Rated R superstar screwed John Cena, allowing RVD to become the champion, which brings us to this night, when essentially we're told, well, listen, there's no titles on the line, but maybe you should kill each other. It was a TLC match as well, which sounds crazy to think that John Cena has been involved in one of those. But given that it was in Edge's hometown of Toronto, you get crazy heat and crazy atmosphere here. And again, I think I'm exaggerating slightly, but if you told me you think this is one of the more crazy TLC matches that WWE has ever done, which is a massive call, I think I would agree with you. They do some flubbed up stuff. Cena totally gets this as well because he sells it like Edge is the worst person in the world as he walks into the ring. Like he's just so damn mad. Then they call each other bitch for a while, and as you know, if you do that in wrestling, this is super serious. Seriously though, it is so damn brutal, and probably way more than the standard you are thinking of their head. And they had so many great matches, I'm not going to say this was the best one, but to see John Cena in this environment and basically raise his game to match what he knew fans would expect to see, absolutely nails it. I don't want to ignore Edge in this either. He totally brings it too. I mean, I think CM Punk and Cena do have the best chemistry, but these guys may be number 2. Number 11 versus Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar at the 2015 Royal Rumble. But we can sum this up very easily because after the fact, lots of people looked around and said to themselves, that may be the best WWE triple threat match I'd ever seen. I think I was one of those. At the very least, it's in the top 5. It is so damn good. There's layers to this as well because, of course, Brock Lesnar was the final boss after defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 and destroying John Cena in 2014. But Seth Rollins wasn't John Cena's friend either because he had joined the Authority and they were trying to take John out. Cena kind of walked into this and went, well, I'm probably going to be totally screwed. Rollins was playing the cowardly heel here as well, so he just legs it as soon as the bell rings. And that's when Brock grabs Cena and gives him a German suplex, which tied into that SummerSlam match from the previous year. Reminded all of us, oh yeah, the last time they met, they killed him. Seth is so damn good in this match as well, and arguably at his physical peak. And at one point, Lesnar gets thrown through a table just so he can rise from the ashes like an absolute warrior. But it's just the whole bing, bang, bong, you go, I go, the timing and the ring psychology. It is a tremendous match. And actually, all 3 guys came out the other side, getting a massive salute from the fans, and they all kind of increased their stock. The extra icing on the cake, too, is that Seth Rollins looks like he's about to win his first world title when Brock does grab him and give him the F5 for the kick 1, 2, 3 as Cena kind of scrambles in the corner. But these kind of multi-man matches are way harder than we actually realize. The fact they nailed this on as well as they did, well, look, it's 11 years old, it's still pretty flipping good. Number 10 versus Sabu at Vengeance 2006. Now, the main reason you should watch this is because it's John Cena versus Sabu. And if you were watching ECW in the late 90s, and then you saw what John Cena became in the early 2000s, nobody expected this. But you can go and see interviews with Sabu today. He really enjoyed it, and he said John Cena was a very nice guy, and that when they sat down to do the match, it wasn't like John was saying, this is the way we need to do things. No, Cena said to Sabu, well, you know, people are probably coming to see your gimmicks and your crazy table stuff, so we've got to lean into it. This was also fought under lumberjack rules, so you do have people like Nunzio the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer on the outside, which does make it quite the novelty. And it is just filled with chair shots, Singapore canes, and of course tables. But it goes 7 minutes because once again, they know we're just going to break a bunch of stuff. We're just going to go crazy. It's going to be boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. We're going to raise people's adrenalines as high as we can. Then we'll go home. Of course, John Cena got the victory. But I tell you, man, they got every single thing right. Sabu wanted to make his mark as well. So, of course, the finish is John Cena giving him the AA from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring through a table before he applies the STF. But the last 2 minutes of this are so damn frenzied, and if you can believe it, in a WWE world all the way back then, they achieved what anybody would have wanted if somebody had fantasy booked John Cena versus Sabu, and that's something we forget, man. Even during the mad times, sometimes WWE got it right. Number 9 versus Shawn Michaels, the 23rd of April, Raw 2007. So of course this happened only a few weeks after we did get Shawn Michaels and John Cena as the main event of WrestleMania 23, which is a damn good match. But if you were there live at Raw, as I was, because it did happen over here in the United Kingdom, you couldn't believe it because essentially the entire second half of the show was this entire match. I remember sitting there going, this has gone over 30 minutes, but it was one of the best moments of my life. I'm exaggerating, but trust me, I was losing my mind. Now, this was non-title, which actually made the finish more ambiguous as well, because you're like, well, Shawn Michaels could win. That's not going to make a difference. But everything about this is just peak WWE and what they want to bring to this sports entertainment world. Like, you've got great action, you've got great work rate, you've got stories, you've got layering, and you have wonderful ring psychology, and it just keeps you guessing until the end. And again, it goes 56 minutes. Michaels, I think, just had his working cap on here, wanted to prove everyone that he was one of the best of all time, and some of his selling is out of this world. And as for John Cena, I just think he was up for the challenge. He knew he was going to get a mixed reaction even over here across the pond, so he just goes in there too, and he's so zoned in. The finish is awesome as well, because it looks like Cena's about to win with the AA when Shawn Michaels lands on his feet and whams Cena with the sweet chin music to get the 1, 2, 3. But Shawn, totally understanding this, kind of just falls on his opponent, so you could argue where they both won and they both lost. But it's one of those matches when John Cena felt like more of a performer coming out the other side, and everybody was just like, well, thank goodness Shawn Michaels was able to come back for this round 2. Let's just face it, it's one of the best in-ring performers of all time. Number 8 versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2014. Now, yes, if you do go through the timeline, I do believe this position was meant for Daniel Bryan, but after his win at WrestleMania 30, Bryan got injured, so he had to sacrifice the WWE title. Meaning when we got to SummerSlam, somebody was going to have to be squashed by Brock Lesnar. Being ever the company man, John Cena said, you know what, I'll do it. It was a totally inspired decision though, because again, if Brock Lesnar had mauled Daniel Bryan, nobody would have been surprised, but John Cena was the golden goose. So when you get to the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and it ends after however long, with John Cena essentially being a dead mess on the floor, and Brock Lesnar doing that after he had defeated The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 30, well, this is why I say it actually did make sense that he was the guy to do that, because for the rest of the year and for the next decade, everyone just looked at Brock like, well, he can't be beaten, he's the final boss. Cena gets hit with an F5 after 35 seconds too, and do not forget, this is the night that Suplex City was born, because Brock Lesnar hit so many of them, and maybe this ties into the fact that sometimes WWE can be risk-averse, and this felt like the complete opposite. It felt like we were not only trying to build Brock Lesnar, but we were trying to add new sides to John Cena, because this was Big Match John, man. He doesn't get squashed. And it's not a squash in the sense it goes sort of, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, but in terms of the action in the ring, it's most definitely a squash. I suppose the best way to put it is that John Cena looked mortal on this evening, and in terms of building a babyface and ensuring he gets a bunch of sympathy, that actually did work, and again, Brock was able to be the dominant dude for years after this, so I don't know who came up with this idea, and I don't know who greenlit it, but it was the best move at the right time. Actually helped everybody involved. Number 7 versus JBL at Judgment Day 2005. And this is a very rare thing to say given that John Cena was a hero to kids across the world, but if you are a youngster, you should not watch this match until you're at the very minimum 16 years old, and even then you have to ask your parents because my gosh, it is so incredibly gory. And this all came after WrestleMania 21 when John Cena had won his first world championship by beating JBL, but that just meant we were going to have to do a rematch at the next pay-per-view. And I suppose because the first round had been a little bit lackluster, somebody made the call to make sure this one was the most intense thing you'd ever seen in your life. And yeah, the amount of blood that spilled, even if you see pictures today, you won't believe it. I mean, it was an I Quit match at Judgment Day, and while I have no information to back this up, it wouldn't surprise me if both Cena and Bradshaw had sat there and gone, man, the first match was okay, but we need to do more here. We have to redeem ourselves. My gosh, they did that and then some. Because again, just the sheer amount of moves and violence they bring to this is totally insane. I'm not exaggerating, it wouldn't have been out of place in ECW. Bradshaw also hits Cena with the mother of all chair shots during this, and goes The Rock as he gets a microphone and run down the champion. But by the time John Cena had won this and he's standing there all bloodied up with the belt, I think at least half the audience must have gone, well, quite clear this has to be the guy, because look at that visual. So it was a massive turning point. And even if you get rid of all the other nonsense that we have talked about during this video, it was just a damn good match, especially if you like to act like wrestling is on the up and up and can be a real fight. Ticks every single box. Number 6, when he teamed with The Rock to take on The Miz and R-Truth at Survivor Series 2011. So the whole can they coexist thing in pro wrestling is completely played out, but when you have 2 megastars and you're tying it into a bigger story that was going to happen the following year, well yes, at the 2011 Survivor Series, The Miz and R-Truth were being a tag team when The Rock came out to team with John Cena, and everybody lost their minds because 1, we hadn't seen the Great One wrestle properly for a long old time, and 2, we were going to team up John Cena and The Rock. I mean, the concept sold itself. Now, do not forget, up to this point, we were still building their WrestleMania match, and both of them had taken some insane shots at each other. But do not ignore The Miz and R-Truth, who actually found to have a lot of fun as their tag team, and they reveled in the fact that these other guys hated each other, and they're actually pretty damn fun. Originally, too, John Cena was meant to be teaming with Zack Ryder, so of course Truth and The Miz beat him up when Cena was told, well, you can pick anybody you want, and he did choose The Rock, even though The Rock wasn't down for this. It's just something you need to go and watch. Like, the match itself is totally fun and you'll enjoy it, but it's everything around it. It's the atmosphere, it's the fact that it's in Madison Square Garden. WWE couldn't have timed this any better, and again, doing a year build for WrestleMania was a little bit too long, but given that this landed in November and we knew that WrestleMania was only 4 months after this, well, it was quite inspired, all things considered. And again, The Miz and R-Truth totally understood their role and put in a hell of a performance. Actually, one of my secret pleasures. I think it's very good. Number 5 versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28. And of course, it does tie into everything they did do at WrestleMania. And regardless of what you think about the build being a year long, or John Cena at the time, or The Rock coming back, this felt like the biggest thing you'd ever seen in your life, especially if you were of a certain age. And when they would stood in the ring together, even though we had seen them together before, it was just a bit like, how the flub are we doing John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28? Felt like the biggest of all deals. The proof was in the pudding as well, because at one point this was the highest rated WrestleMania that WWE had ever done, and it made a bunch of money. And actually it came down to what WWE is very, very good at. You had 2 megastars, and we had found a way to put them in the ring in the main event of the biggest show of all time. Sometimes that's all you need, but also some of the work in the match, you can really feel an intensity there. I'm not 100% sure they liked each other. It was also totally nail-biting as well, because if John Cena had won, nobody would have been surprised. If The Rock has won, nobody would have been surprised. So when they were trading sharpshooters and STFs, it kind of got in your head, because you're like, is one of them actually going to tap out? And And that's the secret sauce when it comes to any wrestling match. You have to believe and there has to be jeopardy. The finish is awesome too, because John Cena tries to mock The Rock as he had done in the build-up with the People's Elbow, when The Rock surprised him with the Rock Bottom for the 1, 2, 3. And sure, it all got a bit ridiculous at WrestleMania 29, because once in a lifetime became twice. When you have something that hits the highs that this did, as a promoter, you would have been mad not to do it again. But if you do want to watch one of them, check out WrestleMania 28. You'll be able to feel the buzz. Number 4 versus Edge, Randy Orton, and Shawn Michaels at Backlash 2007. So John Cena defended his WWE title in this 4-way at Backlash 2007, and for some reason it never gets talked about, despite the fact, once again, it's everything WWE wanted to be at that time. It's just a barrel of laughs, and of course it's filled with stars. Because you had 4 people in it as well, it goes 19 minutes, but the speed of the thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's proper you go, I go, we all go. And because Randy Orton was kind of trying to make a name for himself, he goes totally nuts here. Edge was doing it too. Shawn Michaels was Shawn Michaels, and once again, John Cena was like, you don't think I can hang with these guys? I'm going to prove you wrong. The near falls and submissions are absolutely sublime as well, and you also get some horrific weapon shots. And I think somebody must have clued in Jim Ross, because he sells this like Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17. He's losing his flipping mind. I'm actually going to have to read about what happened at the end of the match, because I always get it confused in my brain. And all of this happened so fast you blink and you missed it. But Randy Orton walked into a spear from Edge, who then takes an AA, before Michaels from nowhere plants Cena with a lightning fast sweet chin music, and then all of a sudden it looks like HBK is going to win, but Cena kind of falls onto Randy Orton, who was dead from the first move, and he gets the 1, 2, 3. Now that sounds absolutely stupid. I like 2 + 2 = potato when you don't see it, but once again, the execution here, we don't talk about this match enough. It's flipping great. Number 3 versus Eddie Guerrero on the 9th of September SmackDown in 2003. Now everybody forgets that Eddie Guerrero and John Cena had a feud in 2003, mostly because it has been over 20 years since Eddie Guerrero passed away. And he's just mad that these 2 stalwarts of pro wrestling did cross paths, but they did. They had a massive feud. And because John Cena was doing his Doctor of Thugonomics gig at the time, well, he made some very choice raps. Let's just leave it at that. In the build to this match as well, John Cena also took the tires off Eddie Guerrero's car and made him bleed like crazy, which did lead to this match 7 days later, when Guerrero decided they should have a Latino street fight. And it's actually the first time in John Cena's career where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy will do anything. Because like other matches we've already talked about, it's pretty damn intense. When they fight on top of cars, Cena for some reason tries to attack Eddie Guerrero with a shovel, and even a lawnmower gets involved. And of course, because this was the start of John Cena's career, Eddie Guerrero gets the win, but he does that by hitting a splash of the frogs off of a car onto John Cena, who was quite literally on the concrete. And that's pretty damn brutal. The whole feud only lasts a total of 3 weeks, but I kind of think it did help put John Cena on the map. And one of the major reasons to watch it in 2025 is just so you can scratch your head and go, wait a minute, John Cena and Eddie Guerrero in the company at the same time. I suppose that's just an incredible look at the longevity Cena did have. He was active and having top guy matches in 2003, and he's retiring in 2005. You can do the math. Number 2 versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013. So I was there live for this pay-per-view, and it's one of my favorite matches I've ever seen live, just because everybody knew what was going on, especially John Cena. Daniel Bryan was so popular he had to win this match, and he had to become the WWE champion, so Cena goes out of his way to make sure he does feel like a player. And if you've been watching Bryan dance on the indie scene, to know that he made it to WWE, and then beat the poster boy of the company, it just blew your mind, and the whole thing just works so damn well. The story going into this that John Cena was allowed to handpick his opponent, so he did pick Daniel Bryan. And instantly Bryan was like, oh, you've only picked me because you think I'm not an actual challenge. And Vince McMahon was leaning into that as well. He was like, why would you pick such an underdog, John Cena? You just want to get the win. It just worked so damn well because it did kind of trick you that we were going, listen, we understand that you're all pleased Daniel Bryan is going to be in the main event, but we're not going to crown him. I suppose backstage, John Cena was laughing like a child, being like, I've got them because I'm absolutely going to do the honors. And when Daniel does hit the psycho knee to get the 1, 2, 3, and that rhymes, so it must be true. Well, it's a moment in time, and it's one that you should go and watch because it's going to hit you right in the Tootsie Toes. Of course, you get the big angle afterwards as well, with Triple H turning heel and joining up with Randy Orton and doing all that kind of nonsense, which does make it more fun. But John Cena is an integral part to all of this, and without his star power, it wouldn't have the heat it does have as we do ring the bell. It's just a barrel of laughs, and actually one of WWE's better moments during a time they were kind of struggling to find their way. Number 1 versus The Big Show at WrestleMania 20. So this is another moment in time match because John Cena does open his first ever WrestleMania to take on The Big Show. And you can just tell watching this that maybe, just maybe, we found the new face of the company. because you can feel the atmosphere in the crowd. They absolutely love this guy. Given that it is an MSG, Cena also walks down wearing a New York Knicks jersey, but you can just feel the electricity in the crowd. And no promoter on the planet would have been able to see that or feel it and not go, oh, we really got to push John Cena. And now, of course, with the wonderful power of hindsight, you just know he's going to be the face of the company. So anyone that a few years after was like, oh man, this was a stupid decision. No, it wasn't. The proof is in the pudding. And no, it's not the best match of John Cena's career, but the Big Show absolutely goes out of his way because he understands the assignment too. But it's just the look on John Cena's face, as I think he realizes too, I may have actually made it here, and maybe I could use this to platform into something else. Also, do not forget, it's the incredible hard-nosed New York crowd that will let you know if they don't like you, which they would do for Cena a few years after this. But I would argue that it was on this night when everything did change for him, even though in the weeks leading up, most people had already been aware, John Cena absolutely has to be the guy. Do not forget as well, it's his first big WrestleMania moment as well, because he does hit the Big Show with the AA, and I don't think anybody realized how strong John was before he did that, but it was another reason, I would imagine if you were a young fan, you watched and you were like, wow, he's gonna be my hero, because again, he's a jack big superhero type. It's also the perfect way to kick off what would be an incredible WrestleMania journey for the next 20 years, essentially. So yeah, you should watch the Kurt Angle thing, and you should watch this too before you bring in all of the rest, and then try and argue that WWE shouldn't have pushed John Cena. The truth is, my friends, you will not be able to do it. Now listen, there's a bunch of other amazing matches in John Cena's career that we haven't talked about, so make sure you throw those bouts in the comments that are down there. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen to get even more about John Cena, because we should appreciate him now, given that he has gone or he's about to go. Otherwise, I appreciate you. I hope you have a terrific day. See you on the next one.